Made a couple of changes this live stream right here. As you can see, we're just playing around with horizontal or landscape as opposed to vertical. And I took the quality down several notches, just playing around with it to see what happens as a result, you know. Otherwise, I came prepared today, even though it might be it's actually warmer, but we'll see. It's actually about 10 degrees warmer. I came out super prepared. I got thermals on. I got a hoodie on over the thermals. I got a relatively insulated jacket over the hoodie, over the thermals, over the tee. So let's see. I'm definitely feeling warm. Got the windows down. But I think the next few days are going to be actually a little warmer. So be prepared for that. And obviously, I'm talking about the people out here in predominantly like southern New York, you know. So if, you know, I'm talking about what does not apply to other people checking in. But out here in like Westchester, New York City, it's gonna be warmer for the next few days. So beautiful thing. We're getting towards the end of October. So let's see how November treats us. Because October started really warm. And then I guess the last like week or so, it's been chilly. So, I mean, you can expect that, right? We're talking about out here, these are the months where it starts doing this. As we've segued into fall. November, obviously, Thanksgiving, autumn. You know, you expect these things. So I'm right here, passing McLean Avenue. This is right at the border of Yonkers and the Bronx. And I'm heading, as you can see, Oshulu Parkway, passing 87 on the right, which is the Deegan Expressway. And then on the left we'd be heading towards Gun Hill, Clinton High School, and Jerome around that area, which is Norwood, Ollinville. You know, a lot of the places I tend to stay routinely. But otherwise, I'm just driving, chilling, and we're talking about big love today, you know? Because love is love. Love is actually very important. And everyone expresses their love in different ways. That's for sure. And I know whether it's an old school love or it's a hybrid love or however people express their love, we're all different, right? It's almost like PDA, right? Public displays of affection. Not everyone is cool with that. You know, I know certain couples where they just don't do that. Or it could be one person in that dynamic that is just uncomfortable with that. So that just the other person then is is cool not engaging in that way because they know that is what makes their partner not so comfortable, right? So it's interesting. But like I said, we're all different. Just like these live streams. These live streams are different in the fact that everyone comes in with their different personalities, different ways of, let me make a right here, of engaging, right? And that's cool too. That's all love. This is a time right before midnight out here in the BX where everything is still lively, you know? How coincidental we're doing a live and it's live out here. I'm telling you, like 11, 12, 1, and even 2 o'clock, it's pretty live out here in the BX. And I'm not gonna make this too short because part of driving and sending big love out is also like kind of tour guiding out here in the X, you know, and that was actually a big part of what this channel was all about. The premise here, the premise is to have someone from Scotland or Ghana or someplace that, you know, they've heard about the Bronx or they've heard about Yonkers, but they don't actually know what it's kind of like. So what better way than to do this, right? Because I would love to see someone do this in like their neck of the woods, so to say, you know, like show me like your city out there, you know. I tune in, be like, oh, that's how it is out there. Wow. You know, and that's kind of like why I do what I do, because it's like, I'm not going to show you. I mean, I will too. I'm not going to say I just won't. But this is not necessarily about like touristy locations. It's just the real. And I think that's what is important. Now, I'm going to find out whether, you know, next time I do a live, I should be focused on verticals and go back to like higher quality on the recording settings. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see, you know, but I'll find out as I go, right? You only get better with time. This is Jerome. We're under the train station right now. Jerome Avenue in the Bronx. As you can see, a lot of the, I don't know if you can see, but a lot of the businesses are still open, you know, and it's like midnight. Now, it's not always like this. Like, for example, if you've ever heard of this big road, it's very popular out here. It's called Fordham Road, right? Fordham Road, almost like all the businesses close very early relative to how the Bronx usually is. You see those women? There's a lot of nurses out here because the hospital is right there, up there on the right side. That's Montefiore Hospital. And you see nurses out here at all hours. I'm talking about midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you know, different times. It's getting a little foggy in here. So I want to make sure the view is not obstructed crazily. That's part of what this was about, you know? And this is the hospital on the right side. So there's a lot of nurses out here. See, Montefiore. But then again, a lot of the businesses are also closed. So there's this pet shop right on the left side. I think it's called Ian J's, maybe? Pet Paradise? Ian J, like the liquor, right? So that man, Puerto Rican guy, right? I met him when he was like, this was like 25 years ago. So I met him recently, right? Because I went in there. He didn't recognize me, but I recognized him. And he's just like, everyone loves him out here, you know? He's been in that pet shop for like 40 something years. And I've known him for almost 30. So I'm sure like out here in the Bronx, he's seen everything, you know? And the pet shop is somewhere right there on the right. There it is, Pet Paradise. Right? E&N's, that's the name of it. And I was trying to give him my crab, right? So I had a Halloween moon crab, right? That I had for some time. So when I you know, I was like, here, you know, I'm trying to like bring this to see if you'll take it. And he was like, no, I'm not, you know, like I don't really have room. Because I'm probably sure he's so used to people like always trying to run game on him. But then when he found out, like I wanted to give it to him for free. Like, take this. And then he was like, oh, okay, I'll give it to my nephew. I'm like, all right, cool. And that's when we started chopping it up, because I was telling him like, yo, bro, I used to come to your shop decades ago. Like, I haven't seen you in 20 something years. And then we just started kicking it. And you could tell, like, some of these folks out here, like, they're just kind spirits, you know? Like, that's why everyone loves them. And that's why everyone, like, some of the, like, first off, let me tell you, right? The Bronx, to me, this is just, like, my experience, right? The Bronx, to me, is, like, since the BX is close to Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, Pelham, basically Westchester borders the Bronx. I mean, I'm not gonna say Queens doesn't border the Bronx, Manhattan doesn't border the Bronx, because they do. But Westchester borders the Bronx as well. And out here in the BX, of course, the Bronx has their own swagger. They have their own style, like everything they do. But the title of this stream is Big Love, right? So if we could apply love to almost anything, then we're gonna do just that. And one of the things I definitely love is the X. You know, the people out here, the culture, like how diverse everything is. The diversity is awesome. The people, the culture, like if you jump out on these streets and you interact with folks out here anytime, it doesn't matter what it is. Like it's midnight right now. And you hop out. Oh, that's another pet shop right there. Tropical Pets, same thing. Like, can I zoom here? No, I can't. I don't think I can. Oh, I can. I can zoom. What? Right there. Boom. That's amazing. Okay. That's cool. So I'm right here on East 204th. I did the same thing. The owner of this spot, his name is Ben. Went in there. Same thing. Like, yo, I haven't seen you in like 20 something years. He didn't really recognize me neither. Both of them are so much older now. And it's crazy when you don't see someone for almost like 30 years. And it's like, whoa, wow, you know, what a difference. So, yeah, I just got distracted by NYPD. I got the phone up in where it's at because it's not how I normally do things. But I said, you know what? Because it's kind of early still, right? At midnight, I started this stream at 11 something. At midnight, it's still early out here. So, like I said, look, everything is like open, you know, literally. Like, all these stores are open. So, usually, stores don't close out here till like 2, 3 o'clock. Papa John's is open, the delis are open, like, everything, you know? So, people are out, you know? I don't want to put cameras in front of people's faces because then they get sick. Because I just finished saying how, like, love the ex, right? But at the same time, nobody wants a camera in their face, you know? So then you'll see another side come out and you deserve it too. Because it's like, you asked for that one. But yeah, right here, 204th and Webster. Look how bright these spots are. They started doing this in Yonkers too, because Yonkers doesn't have as many businesses open at these times, and it's definitely not as like, obviously this is New York City still, right? City that never sleeps. But I know back in the 90s and the early 2000s, Yonkers was a little bit more like this, but then like it's the same thing in New York City too. Brooklyn, the Bronx, the crime was crazy back in the 90s, right? All the way into like the early 2000s, everywhere. So they started implementing all these changes, like bright lights, you know, some places have curfews. Like they started doing different things, experimenting, I guess. And for what it's worth, this is a police precinct right here. It worked. I ain't gonna front. It worked. I'm not saying like the Bronx doesn't have crime. Obviously, that would be a lie. And Yonkers doesn't have homicides. That would be a lie too. But for what it's worth, it definitely changed big time, you know? Compared to how right here was in the 90s, like, it's considerably safer. If you look around, if we look around, you'll see a lot of women out here, you know? And to have ladies out anywhere at midnight it's almost like if this was nature and this was an ecosystem, you'd be saying the ecosystem is healthy, you know? Because if it was like a pond and there's a whole bunch of frogs and turtles, then you could say that area is healthy because of those frogs and those turtles. Now, out here in these streets, you see a lot of ladies out at, and I'm not talking about call girls neither. No, I'm talking about just regular ladies, right? You see them out at 12, 1, 2 o'clock. It's clearly a sign saying like a couple of things. Not just saying that it's relatively safe, despite what people say about the Bronx. It's also saying that these girls have character, right? Like these women have they tough, right? They don't just take anything from anyone, right? Because you gotta be tough out here. And they are. So it's a combination of relative safety with these women don't play games. So, yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I think 20 minutes is a good place to cap this off. I just wanted to take y'all on a tour. Big love out to the Bronx. Big BX. Always love for for the Bronx, for Westchester, New York City, the whole New York. Big love. We just driving and chilling. Anytime you see me talk about anything out here, it's always gonna be big love. You know, I could be in another country. You hear me talking about, listen, you hear me talking about New York, it's not ever gonna be anything else but big love. And that's legit what it will always be. I swear to you, wherever I go in life, it will always be. You know how like the tourists come and they get those t-shirts that say I love New York? That's what it's always gonna be. And that's coming from a native New Yorker, born and raised. And that's really it. I'm gonna see how this turned out. You know, just trying something different. Going horizontal on landscape mode with a lower quality setting. Let's just see what happens as a result. You know, I can't call it. I don't know what the difference necessarily is, but you live, you learn, and you keep going. But I really didn't even realize you could actually, you know, I didn't even know we could zoom here. Yeah, so I got a lot of learning in front of me when it comes to live streaming, you know. Cause to be honest with you, like even though I've been on YouTube for a minute, I didn't actually, cause someone was, you know, trying to spread negative energy, talking about, yo, you've been on YouTube for years and you only got 1,000 subscribers. Listen, I got almost 1,000 subscribers in 1 year, even though I've been on YouTube for years. And I didn't have to, you know, actually explain that, but I just really started playing YouTube closer because I got off of social media everywhere else. IG, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, etc., etc., etc. And now I'm just exclusively here. So there's a lot of things I don't know about YouTube, you know, so I'm just learning as I go. And I thought, all right, let me experiment. What's the difference between horizontal and vertical on a live stream? You know, and what's the difference between taking the quality down a few notches on the video recording settings or keeping it extremely high? You know, because people will tell you, they'll be like, nah, don't record at these settings because it's like pointless. But that's the same thing they say in like Pro Tools, right? Because they'll be like, oh, the human ear can't detect certain decibels or certain frequencies, right? And it's the same thing they'll say about like, oh, well, people don't have television sets or you know, what they're using is not going to support a certain level, and YouTube is going to compress it down to, you know, honestly, I don't listen to any of that stuff because I through discernment, yeah, maybe it's true. Humans can't detect certain things, but we do have the capability of having a lot of devices, electronics that are top notch, top end. So you don't know who has what. You don't know if they have better equipment or not. And at the same time, there is a difference. I noticed the difference between 8-bit, 16-bit, 24-bit, 32-bit, 44 kilohertz, 48 kilohertz, 70 something, 90 something, and even more than 100. I've noticed the difference. Okay, maybe I can't hear like a dog or, you know, I can't have these senses like certain animals, but there is a difference. And when it comes to the quality here of video, there is a difference as well. There's a difference between regular HD, 4K. Clearly, you can see a difference between 24 frames, 30 frames, 60 frames, and 120 frames. You could see the difference between all of them, right? Some things are not as apparent as others, but just to say people can't notice the difference, or very few people have those pieces of equipment, I don't think that's a good enough reason. And also, when people say YouTube compresses everything down, that's not actually true neither. Because if you go into settings here in YouTube and you, on the video upload, you put it to highest quality, then YouTube will actually upload in 4K. I don't know if a lot of people know that, because they just think like it's just gonna compress it down to 7 something or like 1080p. That's not true. You tap that on because it's not on default. You tap it on higher quality, I think that's what it's called, and then you can upload to 4K. Okay, so now 4K makes sense, right? And at the same time, the difference between 24 frames, 30 frames, 60 frames, and 120 frames per second are all very apparent, So, yeah, I thought I would just put that out there. But another thing that I do see is when I put the quality up crazy, because I can handle it. My phone can handle it. My plan can handle it. My memory can handle it. So why not, right? It's the same thing with my computer for Pro Tools. If you can handle it, why worry about who can't handle it? Because, like I said, there might be people who are able to see things at the highest settings. You don't know who doesn't have 8K or 10K or, like some like crazy tech. And at the same time, you don't know who can hear what they can hear. So I always think like that. I always think like quality is extremely important. Now, this car is going extremely slow because I'm going 7 miles per hour. And I drive Miss Daisy, but this is OD. It's almost like, what's up with your vehicle, Like, are you trying to not burn fumes? Or, like, what's happening? But, yeah, that's really it. I think I made my point. Big love to the BX. Big love to Westchester. Big love to New York. Big love to everyone checking in. I learned about this right here. Boom. I learned I could zoom. I don't know why I didn't know I could zoom here, but I was just like, let me try, So, other than that, let me end this chat right now. If anyone has anything to say, feel free. This is Fordham Road right here. I was just talking about Fordham Road earlier, right? So coincidentally, we're on Fordham right now, And, even though Taco Bell and delis and there are stores that are open, there's so many businesses out here that only like the Mickey D's and certain places are still open, but the majority of these stores close early. We're talking like before 8 p.m. a lot of these businesses are closed, But there's still a good amount of businesses, compared to a sleepy town, right? Obviously, like Sleepy Hollow, for example, right? Or Bronxville or Scarsdale or, Pleasantville. Those are sleepy towns. So 7 p.m. is ghost. Lights out, ghost town. But as you can see, here on Fordham, everything's still popping, So feel free to give me suggestions, and we'll continue to get everything better and better over time. And that's really it. I'm gonna half hour in, I'm gonna stop this here and catch y'all next time. Appreciate y'all for checking in. You already know.